What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got an episode of Chicago Bulls Weekly to provide to you guys today as we look back at probably one of the worst road trips the Chicago Bulls has faced this season, heading out west, and also what we have to look forward to in the upcoming week, where hopefully more success for the Chicago Bulls will begin to arise, because it's desperately well needed for our season. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls West Coast trip, what they have to look forward to, and obviously the awards that we give out as well. Anything related to the Chicago Bulls that you're looking forward to or you've already seen and you don't like, stuff of that nature, let me know in the comments below. So, we had 3 games to look forward to during this West Coast trip, and we ended up going a whopping 0-3, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. The West Coast trip, in my opinion, and the words that I've described it in the Phoenix Suns game reaction, an absolute disaster class for the Chicago Bulls. We traveled out west. We thought we could get a win over the Kings, and we just simply could not get it done. Then obviously the games against the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns were too hard to overcome, as the Chicago Bulls are left wondering, winning 8 out of their last 10 or losing 8 out of their last 10, I believe. What's going to be next for the Chicago Bulls? How can they overcome this poor slump of basketball? Can we overcome this poor slump of basketball? And if we do, what is the outcome going to be towards our seeding? Are we going to fall even further down the pecking order in the Eastern Conference? Are we going to rise in the Eastern Conference? But whatever it is, we have to figure it out very soon, because we are in deep danger as a Chicago Bulls team at the moment. But we'll talk a little bit about that towards the upcoming games. Let's look at those previous games. We lost 112-103 against the Sacramento Kings. It was one of those games where the Kings had a really good game plan over the Chicago Bulls, and our offense failed to deliver on this night. I didn't think our defense was too bad. Obviously, Sacramento, again, speaking of defense, they are one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA according to points allowed. And the Bulls, at the end of the day, that game plan the Kings had stopped the Bulls. So they really showed a good defensive awareness and defensive intensity in this game to slow down Chicago Bulls, slow down DeMar DeRozan, slow down Zach LaVine, slow down Vucevic and the rest of the team. They did a great job, in my opinion, and the Bulls got bullied in this game, in my opinion, as well. Sabonis did a number on the Chicago Bulls. I thought a bunch of their guards absolutely bullied our team as well, and just a really, really poor performance overall, but it's something we've come to expect from the Chicago Bulls in recent games. Again, the last win against the Cleveland Cavaliers, we scored 101 points, and in this game we scored 103. So really poor scoring for the Chicago Bulls, and it didn't increase too much against the Utah Jazz, as we lost this game 125-110. A game where we were very stagnant, very predictable. A game where we went under screens, and Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, these types of guys made us pay every single time. Their pick and roll offense was truly unguardable for the Chicago Bulls. And not to mention, as I said in that game reaction, it's an absolute mismatch made from hell for the Chicago Bulls. You just simply cannot have the best offensive pick and roll team in the NBA, or one of the best in the Utah Jazz, and one of the worst pick and roll defensive teams in the NBA in the Chicago Bulls. It was just a mismatch in every sense of the word, and Utah made us pay big time for that game, and that extended our losing streak out west to 2. And then moving into the next game against the Phoenix Suns, a game where they had no Cam Johnson, they had no Jay Crowder, they had no Chris Paul, and there was no problems whatsoever for the Phoenix Suns, winning this game 129-102. A game where, again, I feel like all the problems arise from the Chicago Bulls from the very beginning of March, pretty much all the way until now. We're seeing the same issues, the same problems, and the same outcomes in games. And I kind of, in this video specifically, I was just tired. I was tired of talking about all the problems. I was tired of talking about ways to improve, because at the end of the day, I kind of have to face reality in many ways, that this is the Chicago Bulls team that we're currently seeing in the moment. This is exactly what we are. And in order for us to change our ways, in order for us to overcome all of these circumstances of how to get some wins, how to beat some of these good teams, at the end of the day, these problems have to be figured out on their own. It's going to take time, could potentially take a season, could take multiple seasons, but we have to face these stumbling blocks. We have to face these losses head on, because these are going to be the losses that will help us learn in the future. These regular season losses, these losses that DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Vucevic can't shoot us out of. These are the losses we will need to overcome, and these are the losses that will help us determine our future for the Chicago Bulls. So as much as I'd like to continue talking about problems, Suns. I'm sure it's not the last thing I'll be talking about. That game specifically, I was simply too tired to mention every single issue that we had. I did mention structure, and I mentioned that Phoenix had a great structure, and when players are out for their team, they had 3 major producers out for the Phoenix Suns. They have other guys to fill in with their depth, and the structure that they play made that weakness in their team not necessarily being fully healthy much less minimized. It was completely a non-factor against the Chicago Bulls, and Phoenix all season has done a great job in that, and it's showing with Cameron Payne in the starting lineup. Obviously you got other guys around, Torrey Craig, stuff of that nature, doing great job for the Phoenix Suns. So the Bulls losing streak extends to 3, and all 3 of them are out west. All 3 of them are tough and competitive games, not really competitive but tough games for the Chicago Bulls, and all 3 of these games ended up in us really questioning the Chicago Bulls. So we've got a lot to look forward to in terms of the must improve, the 6th man of the week, and the player of the week. And I really don't have too much to say on any of these situations, in all honesty. So looking at the must improve, I think it's a very simple one here, ladies and gentlemen. I've mentioned the must improve for all 3 of these games was the entire team. And according to the Bulls Weekly, if you're looking at all 3 games and every single one of them, the must improve is the whole Bulls team. In the Bulls Weekly episode, it has to be the whole team. It's as simple as that. We've gone through a lot of stumbling blocks. We've got through a lot of, I guess, hiccups at the moment for the Chicago Bulls, and I don't know how we're going to build our way out of it, if we're going to build our way out of it, but it has to happen soon. But this West Coast trip is a disaster. I've said it before, I've said it in this video, and I'll keep saying it. That West Coast trip was an absolute disaster in every sense of the word. We didn't come out ready to compete. We didn't come out with proper game plans. We lost the teams that we should have beat. At the end of the day, we simply could not compete with some of these teams. So whatever the case may be, this whole team needs to have a massive step up, because we've got a lot of important games coming up. Like, these games were extremely important as well, and if we're going to keep on losing like this, we will lose 5th spot, which is something that we've already lost from the 2nd spot to the 5th spot. Now we will continue to fall down the seedings if we don't pick things up. That's the danger for the Chicago Bulls, and that sense of urgency and that awareness and that desperation has to be there. I've been saying it for 3 weeks now, and all 3 weeks it remains true. We need to be desperate enough to do whatever it takes on the court to win. I still feel like that's something that we're really lacking. The 6th man of the week is Alex Caruso. I'm really happy upon his return. I think he's done some great things defensively. There are a couple of turnover issues that I've been seeing with Alex Caruso in this West Coast trip, but upon his return, he's been fantastic in my opinion. It showed in the Phoenix Suns game as well, guarding Devin Booker for a little bit as well. Really, really important stuff there. And of course, with Alex Caruso, he brings the intensity. He's been able to score very efficiently from the 3-point line recently as well. And he brings just great leadership, and that's something that we desperately need. But obviously, it's clearly not going to be enough if the Chicago Bulls are going to start winning these games. Alex Caruso will not be enough for the Chicago Bulls, so we have to do so much more if we're going to compete with the next teams that we have coming up. And I really do think we have opportunities here if you're a Bulls fan. The player of the week is Nikola Vucevic. Again, I think 2 out of the 3 games I picked Vucevic as the player of the game. Reality is, you really can't find much progression, much happiness, much of anything within these 3 games. I think Zach LaVine had a very great game. I'm pretty sure it was against Sacramento, but I'm not too sure. It was a 33-point performance. Maybe it was against Utah after thinking about it a little bit. But at the end of the day, one performance out of a really poor week. I think Vucevic at the end of the day had an okay week. He wasn't by far his best efficiency-wise, and even the stats weren't great for what Vucevic we come to expect. But again, I feel like every other guy struggled. I feel like Zach LaVine was a really big weakness on the defensive end this week. The Kings game was a joke in my opinion in terms of the defensive end for that first half and the offensive end for that first half. Utah, he went underneath the screens too many times, and Phoenix, we don't even need to talk about that. No one really had a great game against Phoenix. So that is the harsh reality. My player of the game is Vucevic. My player of the week is Vucevic. But again, is that really a positive, going 0-3 on a really bad negative West Coast trip? I guess I'll leave that up to you guys to decide, but yes, he is my player of the week. Moving into the games that we have looking forward to, we got 4 games within this week for the Chicago Bulls, and all I can say is there's opportunities here. It's time to stand up. It's time to deliver. The leaders of this team have to show their leadership qualities, have to show that they're resilient and they're willing to win. DeMar DeRozan recently said that the Bulls don't shy away from challenges, and DeMar DeRozan doesn't shy away from challenges. Well, here's the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. I want to see the Chicago Bulls win 3 out of their next 4 games. It doesn't matter which one of these games they win. The fact of the matter is, We need to win 3 out of 4. We need to show dominance. We need to show that we're capable, and these are teams that are competing with us. Milwaukee, Raptors, Cleveland, competing with the Chicago Bulls for seeds. So at the end of the day, we need to extend our dominance against some of these teams, with the first game being against the Toronto Raptors at home. Toronto's already beaten us once already. We have beaten them twice. One of them earlier on in the year, and the other one was a very similar situation where both teams are at the moment, at least from what I remember. Toronto is a very tough, physical team, and that's exactly what they showed against the Chicago Bulls. The way that they play against us is very unique compared to how other teams do play against us. So let's just hope that the Chicago Bulls have enough to beat this Toronto Raptors team. They're coming for our spot, ladies and gentlemen. A win over us, I believe, puts them 1 game behind the Chicago Bulls alongside the Cleveland Cavaliers. So it's a very important game here. And obviously, we can't take games like this lightly. Hopefully, this is also the game that Patrick Williams will return, but if it's not this game, it could very well be that Milwaukee Bucks game, which is next, ladies and gentlemen, the third meeting between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. All things considered, we've seen close games between both of these teams the last 2 meetings, but the difference is Milwaukee has edged out the Chicago Bulls on both of those meetings. Let's see if the Chicago Bulls can change their ways and find ways where in the end of the game, if it's close and competitive, we're the ones on top in this game. It's going to be away from home. It's not going to be an easy challenge, as we always say with every single team, but this is a desperation game, and I think the Bulls have to walk away with the win. I can see this game going one of 2 ways. I can see it going a very familiar way, and hopefully the Chicago Bulls edging it out in the 4th quarter compared to how Milwaukee often edged out games in the 4th quarter against us, or I see them knocking down a bunch of threes and we're just not in the game whatsoever. That's how I see the game going, and let's hope we're looking for the latter one where we're competing, we're doing great, and hopefully we edge out the win. Then we've got an away game going back out west against the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, you might look at this New Orleans Pelicans team as a pushover. At the end of the day, we took Lonzo Ball from the New Orleans Pelicans. We obliterated them in the preseason, and we also beat them very early on in the regular season as well. So many people will think of this game as an easy game for the Chicago Bulls. Well, one thing to consider, they've made some big trades, the New Orleans Pelicans. This is not going to be the same New Orleans Pelicans team we've seen for the bunch of the regular season. They do have a chance of going into the play-in, and they will take this game very seriously. So if the Bulls come sleeping in this game, away from home, traveling out west for 1 game, then going back to Cleveland, that's a game that could definitely bite us in the backside if we're not prepared. So the Chicago Bulls, no matter what the excuse is, we don't want to travel out west and come back east. I don't care what the excuse is, we cannot lose that game against the New Orleans Pelicans. That's a must-win game in my eyes. And then obviously another must-win game is against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland are right on our tails, and at the end of the day, both teams are getting relatively more healthier for their season. So we've beaten Cleveland, I believe we've beaten Cleveland twice, and they've beaten us once. So if we beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, not only is it important towards our seedings, it's also very, very important towards that advantage that we get, that tiebreaker advantage if we finish on the same record. So really important game against Cleveland as well. All 4 games, very important. All 4 games I personally see as winnable, and all 4 games I think the Chicago Bulls should be competing in. So I have to be desperate here, ladies and gentlemen. As I talk about desperation, the Bulls have to be desperate as well. I predict that the Chicago Bulls will win 3 out of their next 4 games. If I'm mistaken, I can't say I'll be too surprised, but everything considered, the Chicago Bulls have to do and have to find ways to win. And these are the games that mean something for the Chicago Bulls. Again, after this stretch of games, there are more winnable games available. It's not going to be an easy ride for the Chicago Bulls, but there are games here that we can try and maintain at least our positioning, and hopefully, if not, continue to rise in the Eastern Conference. It's a must, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot keep falling. We cannot keep losing. And most importantly, we cannot keep giving up in these games. We've got some good competition that we're going to be versing soon. And at the end of the day, if we continue to give up, this team is going to go downhill. And that's not what I want to see. So hopefully you guys can pick up the Bulls at the United Center if you're going to those games. Hopefully the crowd will be a big factor against the Raptors. And then we're going back on the road for the next 3. So hopefully that United Center game we can take away for the next game against the Raptors, and we'll see what happens after that. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully a little bit more of a positive one. But nevertheless, have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care. And